Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Minions of the Zoo 1488. Your joke here. Uh, with us today are Minions Sanguine
Good evening, all.
and the Hate Camel.
Hello, hello.
And I am your host, Johnny Hellcat. How are you guys doing today?
Doing great. How about you, Johnny?
I've actually felt pretty good up until about 7 minutes ago. So,
I showed up 8 minutes ago. What are you trying to say?
well, I was throwing up before I got the stream started, so I guess about 20 minutes ago, give or take. But yeah, I kind of had to throw things together at the last minute because, that's how we do. But I do apologize. I did have a bit of a. In fact, I'm still kind of coming off the old throw up session. So
Trying to get that taste out of your mouth?
there's no getting rid of it. It's constant.
He's trying to get Beachbody ready, saying when that's what's going on here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the Montana beach, which will be frozen over in about a month.
See, I think that he has an eating disorder, except he's male.
I just thought it was a fur ball.
Well, it may be a fur ball, but it's stuck down there. No, it's bad when I can identify the food that comes out.
I'm just waiting for the day when Johnny messaged me and is like, when did I eat corn?
I don't know. I think it's better if you can figure out what you're throwing up. It's bad if you can figure out what's coming out the other end, though.
Yeah, when you can taste it coming out of the other end, that's bad. Asshole shouldn't have taste buds.
You apparently have a very interesting cancer. You do.
I'm just thinking back to that one South Park episode.
Yeah, eat up your butt and poop out your mouth.
Yeah. Imagine being the guy that discovers that you can do that. So many questions.
Well, there was a guy that figured out that he could suck water up his asshole and...
Are you talking about that French dude that Dankula did a Mad Lads on?
Yes.
Okay.
The fartist.
The flautist?
Yep.
I can't
The
believe that's an
flautist and
actual
the fartist.
word.
Mm-hmm.
No, I did.
And-
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you first?
I did also invite a couple gentlemen.
Fantastic.
Nothing, no word yet from the second. But the first will not be able to make it.
Mm-hmm.
So who was the second?
Mike Headley.
Oh, see, I was going to actually recommend inviting him if Poe didn't make it. But I saw Mike earlier on Twitter. He said he wasn't feeling well.
Mm.
I'm trying to figure out. It's like, all right, so are you sick or did you eat too many edibles?
So,
And apparently, I wasn't the only one that had that train of thought. Somebody else
Nice.
sent him that message like right as I hit send.
So, do we want to talk about the one amusing story that I found for the day?
yeah.
And do you want me to share it so that you can show everyone the
Yeah, I'll put it on the
article?
Yeah, let's talk about something that's not juicy Smolier.
We'll
and
get to
vomit.
that because that's also too funny not to talk about at some point.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, let's not do that at the front.
So I chose CNN just because I'm willing to bet that they have unbelievable rage at this, and I'm really hoping that's the case. Because Better.com CEO fires 900 employees over Zoom. And apparently it was more than 900 employees. Oh, and they do correct that in the next line. Better.com CEO Vishal Garg, I'm guessing that's how that name is pronounced, announced the mortgage company is laying off about 9% of its workforce on a Zoom webinar Wednesday, abruptly informing more than 900 employees on the call they were all being terminated just before the holidays. If you're on this call, you're part of the unlucky group that is being laid off, Garg said on the call, a recording of which was viewed by CNN Business. Your employment here is terminated, effective immediately. He then said employees could expect an email from HR detailing benefits and severance. Having to conduct layoffs is gut-wrenching, especially this time of year, CFO Kevin Ryan said in a statement to CNN Business. However, a fortress balance sheet and a reduced and focused workforce together set us up to play offense going into a radically evolving home ownership market. So this hasn't said it yet, and I'm curious if they will actually ever get to who the 9% of staff were. Let me just skip ahead to see if they ever mention who they were. And it does not. So I already told you guys who it was, but I'll let chat in on the secret. The 900-something employees, the 9%, that was their diversity and inclusion staff.
God, that's almost too perfect.
Yeah. And unfortunately, they didn't go into the details because the CEO put out a statement shortly after this explaining why he had done it. And it was, they're causing us to hemorrhage money. They, on average, do about 2 hours of work a day while charging for a full 8.
So it's pretty much like the administrators at universities. Because I remember seeing, was it Ohio State? I remember one of them was Michigan. They said like they had 180 some odd diversity, equity, yada yada people, and like they cost the university like $13 million a year.
Yep. Yeah, they were charging full time for doing about 2 hours of work a day, yielding no real results. So in his full statement, he said something along the lines of, they were stealing from the company, they were stealing from us, they were stealing from our customers, who is where the money ultimately comes from. As his justification for why he fired the 900-something people.
Well, I saw, again, this is something I'd have to look into more, but another example was like I saw someone posting on Twitter earlier a table graph from the Bureau of Labor Statistics showing the increase of administrators versus doctors from like 1970 to present day.
Yep.
And the increase in doctors wasn't even like 10%, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
But the increase in administrators was like over 300%.
Yep. Yeah, it's a massive thing in pretty much every industry that the government touches. It ends up going absolutely ridiculous with the number of administrators that are brought in. You see that with colleges, you see that with schools. I wonder if that's actually something that can be looked up fairly easy.
I imagine probably Bureau of Labor Statistics would be the go-to to see a breakdown of that. But I don't know, man. I'm running on fumes. I've been fried for like a month, pretty much. Since we got back home, it's been a lot of. We still got a lot of stuff to do to catch up on to get Nana Camel back on track.
Yeah.
But like that first day, we slept in till like noon, and uh, been up going since like 7 o'clock this morning. I did catch me a little cat nap about, I don't know, 5 or so, and just to be ready for the stream, I was like, oh, well, because like I need to go ahead and get moving.
And pulling up the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Oh, okay. So thankfully, the number of administrators is not outstripping entirely the number of post-secondary teachers. So the professors. But yeah, it's obscene when you look at how many administrators there are at colleges, in school systems, and in healthcare. It just keeps on going up and up and up and up. And I've told you guys my anecdotal bit about the state in which I worked corrections in and the ever-growing HR department, right?
Probably. Like I said, I'm fried, so you probably mentioned it, and I'm just not remembering. So if you want to tell it again for the chat and everything.
Yeah, for those who haven't heard about this before, I was a corrections officer for a while, and when I was working corrections, just like every job, there was, of course, an HR department. As everyone knows, HR departments are meant to oversee that there's no infighting of the staff, do all the normal bullshit HR stuff, right?
They're usually the shit stirrers in the first place, though.
Yeah, they're normally the shit stirrers in the first place, but they're meant to be there to make sure that the staff is professional, that they're following policy, all that good shit, right?
Yeah.
So there's also the command structure at the prison, which part of the point of the command structure is to make sure that all the correction officers are following policy and being professional. The state decided that there was a problem where correction officers, or just prison employees, weren't quite what they wanted them to be. So rather than increasing the pay of correction officers to attract a larger client pool, or not client pool, but employment pool, and then select the best people from that, they decided that they would make a new office in order to oversee policy and professionalism. So they made the Policy and Professionalism Office. A little bit later, they decided that they really wanted some additional work being done on policy, so they made the Policy Office. Then they wanted additional work being done on professionalism, so they made the Professionalism Office. Then they made a Professionalism in the Workplace Office, as well as a Prison Policy Office, as well as a Policy and Professionalism in the Workplace Office.
And none of these people ever got shanked?
They never had to deal with any of the offenders.
I meant by the guards.
Oh, we were tempted. Because the prison that I worked at, if you looked at the number of Department of Correction employees versus the number of offenders, or rather the number of offenders versus the number of employees, you had something like a 3 or 5 to 1 ratio. That sounds rather healthy, right?
Until you realize how many of them were HR.
Oh, yeah. Once you took out HR, the chaplaincy, the education, secretaries, and the non-correction officer staff, once you took out that and you just looked at the number of officers to offenders, or the number of offenders to officers, you were suddenly up in the 40s and 50s.
To one?
To one.
Yeah, see, if I had to walk a cell block for like a 12-hour shift and then I had to put up with that bullshit, I'd be willing to stab somebody.
Yeah, it was absolutely ridiculous. The largest cell hall that we had would get staffed by about 6 people. It was normally 5 to 6 people would be in the largest cell block that we had. The largest cell block that we had was about 300 offenders.
Yeah, that's see. I've had jobs where I've worked close by to prisons.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like working a convenience store and whatnot. So I've had COs come in and be like, "Hey, man, you should you know, good money, you know, state job, good benefits." It's like, yeah, but I'm still in prison. Like, you get to go home at the end of the day. It's like, yeah, but I'm still in prison. Like, you can't pay me enough to go to prison, even if it is for a few hours a day.
That is a rarity because for the vast majority of people, I'm willing to bet you could find a price point where they'd be going, okay, yeah, I'm dealing with offenders, I'm dealing with being in prison, but for that money, I can deal with the shitheads for a while.
Sanguine, you've heard me talk. I don't turn this off. This is I'm gonna get stabbed. No.
You've heard me talk.
Yeah, but you're bigger than me.
Yeah,
I'm a big boy, but
we're not.
I'm not prison yard big.
We're not oversized dwarves, so.
I prefer the term giant dwarf.
Like I said, I'm a big boy, but I'm not prison yard big. No.
Oh, that's disappointing.
Yeah, it's something that pissed all of the correction officers off.
Yeah, I imagine it would.
All we needed was a little bit more funding, and the number of people that would be looking at the job going, for that money, yeah, I can do that, would increase. And when that increases, suddenly you're able to be a bit picky about who you want to have work at the prison. Whereas if you aren't paying enough, most people aren't going to even want to try, and a lot of those that do try will decide, yeah, this isn't, I'm not getting paid enough to deal with this shit. And they leave. Or, worst case scenario, rather than leaving and being honorable about it, they go dirty. Because they figure out that they can get some added money. Which, unfortunately, that happened. It was not extremely common, but it was common enough that about once a month, the entire time that I was working there, a female correction officer was walked out and locked out.
You mean that, like that one lady who was letting all the
There were
doing the shows.
There were correction officers that stopped being correction officers because they got walked out and locked out, that were pregnant with an offender's child. When they didn't
catch a rape charge for that?
That was the thing that really pissed us off, because when you go through the training, absolutely, that would be a rape charge, because according to the laws, all sex in prison is rape.
Yeah, an offender can't consent when they're
an offender can't consent. So all sex in prison is rape. The DA of the area was very firm that he would never charge a female correction officer for sleeping with a male offender. So they just got walked out, locked out, didn't have any charges, didn't really have any crime tacked onto their record. It was just they left the prison's employ.
And they weren't allowed to go work in another prison after that, right?
They weren't allowed to work in another prison in the state.
Oh, so they could just hop across those, state lines.
if they went across state lines and they failed to mention, and it failed to come up in the check, that they had worked for the prison and why they had left the prison's employ, then yeah, potentially they could be working at another state's prison.
That's, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like that one teacher didn't even lose her teaching license.
Mm-hmm. Or I can't remember what school system it was. I know it was in Pennsylvania, where the principal of a school was arrested in a rather shockingly overt situation where the police burst into his office and arrested him as he was divvying up drugs with his pants off and masturbating to pederastic porn.
Wow. Just
Yeah,
like
just
going for a whole trifecta there, huh?
Yeah, he was going for the proper hat trick of you're a piece of shit.
Well, what was that one that lives at TikTok highlighted? Hazard, Kentucky, where they had the pep rally with the dudes dressed up in lingerie and the girls dressed up like Hooters waitresses. Oh, yeah. Apparently, was it the principal of that school got busted driving kids around while they were drinking vodka? Yep. Like, and he still had a job to put on that little assembly.
Mm-hmm.
So another reason why I'm glad I don't have kids.
Yeah, it's ridiculous what certain positions are able to get away with. And that's just like you guys heard about the massive news when it came to the federal government recently, right?
Refresh my memory.
A rather shocking number of CIA employees were found to be possessing child pornography, have paid for child prostitution, had paid for porn and prostitution, both of them children, on government cards, had used government computers in order to get their pornography.
Were they undercover at the UN Food Network or what?
It kind of seemed like in order to do all the scumfucky things that they were doing, that would have had to have been the excuse. But it gets even worse because after that was found out in the CIA, a lot of other government entities and agencies and locations decided, hey, we should probably look at our people's systems. And a shocking amount was found on Pentagon computers. A shocking amount was found in pretty much name and alphabet. And yeah, shocking amount.
Oh, did you ever watch Generation Kill?
I did not.
Well, there's a Rolling Stone reporter who went along with the 1st Marine Recon Division when they were going into Iraq. Mm-hmm. And he wrote it. He made it into a book. They made the book into an HBO miniseries. The Sergeant Major, was it Sergeant Major Sixta? Mm-hmm. He got busted for, I don't know if it was child porn or if it was actually like diddling. No, that's what it was. He was a diddler. He got busted like a year or two ago for that.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I mean, of all the people that was highlighted in that book and that show, he was a douchebag enough that I believe it.
It was, like I said, just a rather shocking number of people from all these government agencies that, what the fuck?
Another military deal. Black Hawk Down.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen that, right?
Yeah.
Ewan McGregor's character in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
is actually like they changed the name and everything because the guy that they kind of based his character off of, he got arrested for diddling like his daughter.
Mm-hmm.
So they went ahead and changed that up so they could keep in like his story of being like you know stuck behind a desk until Mogadishu, but they didn't want that tarnishing the overall story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the older I get, the less surprised that I am by a bunch of this. Ugh.
Yeah, I'm trying to find because I remember hearing there was a quote about the CIA incidents, and it was one of the most fucked up things that I've heard because it was something along the lines of no charges have been put forward as of yet because there's concerns about who they would expose.
Well, I mean, this story breaking. There was another CIA guy who I don't know if he's being lumped in with this revelation, but it came out before all this. There was one guy that was working for the CIA that they apparently locked up because he was going around raping women. Apparently, like he the one they got him on was for a one in Mexico he did,
Mm-hmm.
but he all the different stations he had been in, he was going out and attacking women.
And I found a quote. I'm trying to track down the origin of the quote before I give it too much head. But it was, as I track it down, I can read the first part of it. Though most of the cases were referred to the U.S. attorneys for prosecution, only one of the individuals was ever charged with a crime. Prosecutors sent the rest of the cases back to the CIA to handle internally, meaning few faced any consequences beyond the possible loss of their jobs and security clearances.
Put him in Gitmo.
Yeah, and there is a CIA insider, which I always get kind of on edge whenever I hear an insider says.
Yeah, I've been so desensitized by that from all of the Trump stuff.
Yeah.
So unnamed sources. Somebody
take this with a grain of salt, but they said the CIA insiders say the agency resists prosecution of its staff for fear the cases will reveal state secrets. I'm not exactly sure what sort of state secrets involve pedophilia, but apparently state secrets.
I mean, the only state secrets I could think of that would be affected by that, like we already know from the Afghan papers. Was it Bachi or whatever they call it?
Yep. For those who don't know what Bachi is, I'm about to ruin your probably week. Bachi is the
It's a good thing it's already Thursday, folks. Strap in.
Bachi is the practice in some Muslim countries where older men will have sex with young boys that they first dress as dancing girls, if I remember correctly. And then they pass them around like party favors.
What was the phrase that I remember seeing? Women are for marriage, boys are for fun.
Mm-hmm. Really fucked up practice.
And our military turned a blind eye to it for God knows how many years while we were in Afghanistan.
Certain elements of our military did. Let me phrase it that way, because...
Oh, I'm sure there were plenty of individuals who,
Yeah, there are a lot of stories about a unit finding out that was happening, and they were told not to do anything, so they didn't do anything, and the person just disappeared.
Yeah. I'm sure there was individuals or squads or something like that did not turn a blind eye, but
Yeah.
the higher ups, the brass, they didn't care.
The brass or the government
State Department or some other alphabet soup.
ordered them to allow it or to ignore it, rather. But there are a lot of stories about people that were found to be doing that by U.S. troops, that the U.S. troops were given the order, so they stood down, but then the person just kind of disappeared.
Yeah, Afghanistan not in the news anymore at all.
Yep.
Did we get all our people back finally?
Nope.
Yeah, I didn't think so. I mean, we still got like a dozen Americans trapped over in Haiti. Like I think Jack, Cochran, and Monkey talked about it on Monkey. Do not call me Jack, just preemptively. But
It's gonna make this really hard.
I did send the story to Jack, so I mean my fingerprints are on the story, but they talked about it. I don't know, a month or two ago at this point, about like 17 Christian missionaries, American missionaries in Haiti getting kidnapped and held by gangs after the Haitian president was assassinated.
Yep.
Like that's a hop, skip, and a fucking jump for the 82nd Airborne or the Rangers, and they're still there. There's like a dozen of them still there. Like 5 of them have been released. My guess is, the Christian missionary organization or families went ahead and paid ransoms for them.
Yeah, for the longest time, it was a well-known thing around the world that, yeah, you could kidnap English people and you'll get the ransom. You could kidnap French people, you'd get the ransom. You could kidnap this group, kidnap that group, kidnap that group. Perfectly fine. Kidnap an American, you're dead. You won't get money, you're just dead. And we need to go back to that.
I can only imagine this is what it was like living through the Carter administration. I'd probably have to ask Prospero or Skep or somebody, but this is what I'm imagining would be, what it was like, or as close a facsimile as you can get.
That is what he was rather infamous for at the time, because
I mean, at least he made an effort to try and get hostages back. It didn't pan out, but I mean, at least he pulled the trigger on that operation.
yeah, but he also came dangerously close to violating the "we don't negotiate with terrorists" policy, which that is a key aspect of why people did not fuck with American citizens. Because it was really well known, like I said, you can fuck with a bunch of other countries' citizens and you can survive and you can actually make some money out of it. But it was known you fuck with an American and you're dead. There's no money, you're just dead.
Yeah, and like this is the guy that was the vice president when Obama, sent SEALs into Pakistan for bin Laden, and sent SEALs to go, rescue Captain Phillips. It's like, come on, dude. Like, Afghanistan's one thing. That's halfway around the world. You still a big fuck up. But this is Haiti. We've invaded Haiti before. We can do it again. Come on.
If at first you don't succeed.
Camel, you have to speak his language. Come on, man.
Yeah. So, like literally, we I mean, was it that was during Clinton, wasn't it? Was it his first term? I want to say it was like 94 or something like that.
I think so.
Or, maybe it was before. I know. I think it was before. May have been before Black Hawk Down. Because because I think they got kind of gun shy after that. But yeah, like they sent a force in there, and luckily for them, like I guess the Haitians wised up at like the last second. They're like, "Oh shit, it's about to go down," and peacefully, like we invaded, didn't have to fire a shot.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man.
And
I
it was
hoping to talk
94.
about something else other than politics tonight.
I can get my badge of disappointment in here. I was helping a customer try and look into benefits for his wife for a surgery, and we can't just look up surgery, so we need to know what specific kind. And I don't remember the letters exactly, but I believe it was called a D&C.
Yep.
Which, yeah, I looked that up, and I really wish I didn't.
I know what a DNR is. What's a DNC?
I'll let Johnny explain it.
Oh god.
Let me go.
If Sanguine's not willing to explain it, I know it's going to be bad.
Oh no, I'm willing to. It's just I find it more amusing to torture Johnny with it.
Oh, so you're twisting the knife. That makes it even worse. Thanks.
Yeah.
It's all for my lap.
Let's see here. A D&C is called a dilation and curettage. Curettage.
Okay, I know what dilation means, and this does not sound...
It's going exactly the way you think it's going to go.
Oh, boy.
It's a procedure to remove tissue from a uterus.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Yeah. That's all I'm going to go with that on it. And so I was like, oh yeah, I'm more than happy to help you look up this thing. And then I saw what it was, and like, I just, oh. Okay.
So, the second part that you were having trouble with, the curettage is named due to the instrument that's used in the procedure, which is a curette, which is a spoon-shaped implement.
Like a rice spoon.
It's...
Oh god, I use that thing.
Not quite the same shape. But yes, it is a...
No, it's a day ruiner, is what it is.
Yeah, it's kind of like a very small melon bowler.
Oh, God.
In its shape. And, yeah, it's used to scrape out the lining.
Okay. Well, speaking of insurance, gonna just walk away from that.
Well, I could move us to some cringe if we're up for it.
Oh, well, no, like, since we're in your wheelhouse of the insurance game, I had those appointments with Nana Camel today, right? And the first one was with her primary care. This is the first time we were able to get in with primary care or wound care since we got back home last Friday. And they were supposed to have it set up with home health as well when they discharged her. And they told us when we were getting ready to leave the hospital, hey, home health should be in contact with you tomorrow. So tomorrow rolls around, we don't hear anything from them. The next day's Sunday, so we don't plan on hearing anything from them then either. Finally, Monday rolls around. It's like afternoon time. Still haven't heard from them. So I call them up, and it's like, oh yeah, we'll get everything sorted out. Get you taken care of. Apparently, the hospital had first of all, they gave them my grandmother's PO box address, not her physical address, because everyone just lives at the post office down here, right? But so I get that all sorted out. I give them my phone number as the contact, so that way I know what's going on, who's showing up, when, where, what have you. And then Tuesday rolls around, don't hear anything. So like Wednesday afternoon, I call him back. It's like, yeah, what's going on here? Like, oh, well, we're gonna have somebody call you later this evening because we're gonna get her try and set up tomorrow, Thursday. I was like, well, she's got a couple appointments already, on the books. So I just need to know like what time, And I mentioned the fact that she's got her primary care in the morning. Like, oh well, that's gonna be a problem because your insurance won't cover her going to primary care and us on the same day. I was like, all right, well, so see about doing it Friday then. Like, okay, yeah, that'd be fine. Just so you know, um, your insurance has like a 60. The copay on that's going to be $67.50 every time we come out. I was like, so what are you people doing again? They're like, oh well, just help out, with whatever she needs, dressing her wounds, help her do this, that. I was like, oh, so everything that I'm doing for free, I'll get back to you.
Mm-hmm.
So went to go see the primary and then wound care to. Apparently, I have a great future as a wound care nurse. I'm doing great according to her primary physician and the people at the wound clinic. So
That's good, because I was about to say, well, you do want to have that checked over by a professional.
yeah. Like the primary's like, so you thought about going to nursing school? Like, fuck no. Like, I just spent a month and a half dealing with nurses. They're shit.
See, here's the thing. I've met as many really shit nurses and really shit doctors as I've met amazing nurses and amazing doctors.
I was gonna say, as like, there were some that were just star-spangled awesome. Don't get me wrong.
Yep.
But there were some other ones that were complete shitheads, and they are lucky that those windows don't open, because I'd have tossed a few of them. I would have dangled one RN like Suge Knight. 13 floors. But yeah.
Defenestration.
After we got back from wound care and made sure that everything was on the up and up, and I was taking care of business properly, I went ahead and called back. I was like, yeah, we're not needing your services.
You mean
thanks anyway?
You mean 14 floors?
No. I know how to count, even though I went to public school. There were 13 floors.
Is there a reason why they don't do
superstition?
Yeah, it's superstition. So normally, rather than just having the 14th or having the 13th floor be named the 14th floor, what they tend to do is they'll have the 13th floor just be a machine floor. So it's where a lot of the upper floor HVAC and shit like that ends up being piped in, and where a lot of the elevator maintenance rooms will be on the 13th floor, which is then only accessible if you have a key. And the 14th floor is actually habited.
No, the hospital we were at, they just went from 12 to 14. I was like, oh, come on. We know what floor we're really on.
Did they go that way just in the elevator, or was it when you walk up the stairwell you could tell?
Oh, no, it was elevator and stairwell, because there were times a day, because like I said, I was there 24/7.
Yep.
It got to the point where the security guards at the main entrance knew me by face, and we were all wearing masks.
Yep.
So they saw me from like the bridge of my nose up, and like, oh yeah, I know you. You're cool. Go ahead. But there were times a day where it's like, I am not waiting for each of you. Like, they had it on the walls, on the doors of the elevators on one side of the area. It said 4 people max, right? And these were like the big elevators that they would use to like cart patients around on their hospital beds. 4 people max, stand in the corners, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone's supposed to be wearing a mask. All that good business. So the other elevators, though, they're like your standard elevators. Like you would see anywhere else, hotels, businesses, what have you. and people would pack into that motherfucker like a sardine can. You know, the big elevators, 4 people max. The little ones, 6, 7, 8 people trying to just squeeze in there. It's like, and they're all going to different floors. I was like, fuck this, I'll take the stairs. I need to work on my cardio, guys. Because I'm going up 13 flights. I started getting winded around like 7 or 8.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, ooh. But yeah, it went from 12 to 14 in the stairwell too.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, a lot of places they'll have a 13th floor that is inaccessible unless you have a access key, and that will be a machine floor, rather than just trying to say, "Oh no, this is the 14th floor."
But
Well,
you know what the one thing I didn't do while I was there, I did not see about reading the Catholic Bible. Because normally when they had the chapel open, I was busy doing other things.
Mm-hmm.
There's only like one part of the Bible I know that like differs really, and I learned that from Pulp Fiction, not from actually like going to church.
So, which part do you know of?
Ezekiel 25:17. Apparently, that's in the Catholic Bible. That's not in King James or anything like that.
Yep, and then the other main, or probably the most major difference, is the 10 Commandments. They're different.
Wait, they're different, or like it just in a different order?
10 Commandments are different.
Really?
Yeah, there's 6 out of the 10 Commandments. Sorry, it's actually 8, 9. I think it's 9 out of the 10 Commandments are the same. And there's one different.
Which one's
No,
that?
it's 8 out of the 10 Commandments are the same. And then there's 2 different because one of them is completely omitted and one of them is swapped in because the other one's omitted. So
I give you these 15, 10 commandments.
Yeah, it's the 4th commandment in the non-Catholic Bible is the forbiddance of graven image.
Like false idols or whatnot.
Yeah, it's the... Let me quickly pull up the exact wording so I can read it proper. But it's the 4th commandment in the non-Catholic Bible, if I remember correctly, is the one about graven image.
All I know is like Nana Camel's got the 10 Commandments up on the wall at her house, and I always thought it was kind of interesting. Like, "Thou shalt not kill" is 5th on the list.
Yep. So,
which I guess that also depends on your denomination as well, because like I know some of them say it's like "Thou shalt not murder," which makes more sense than "Thou shalt not kill."
So the one that is excluded from the Catholic Bible, that is in a lot of the other Bibles, is "Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image."
I'm sorry, did you say that was the Catholic one or the non-Catholic one?
That is the non-Catholic. So the Catholic one has just 3 of the God-specific ones, and then it goes into the Sabbath, and all the others stay the same. So it's, "I'm the Lord thy God, no other gods before me."
Yeah, that's number 1. Mm-hmm.
There's "Do not take the Lord's name in vain."
Yeah, I'm definitely going to hell for that one.
"Remember the Sabbath," and
keep it holy.
Yeah, "Remember the Sabbath, keep holy the Sabbath." Both of those wordings work. "Honor thy father and thy mother." "Thou shalt not kill." "Thou shalt not commit adultery." "Thou shalt not steal." "Thou shalt not bear false witness." "Thou shalt not covet." All of those are the same. The graven images is different because the graven images is not the wording. It is...
Now, when they say graven images, what exactly does that entail?
In the strictest version of the interpretation, that means kind of like how you aren't allowed to have pictures of Muhammad. You aren't supposed to have statues of God or paintings of God.
So, like, this is like the only commandment I haven't broken yet. Shit.
Yeah, that is the one that is excluded from the Catholic Ten Commandments. Because, yeah, they like
their statues. They really do.
They like their statues. So the Catholic 10 are, of course, I'm the Lord thy God, thou shalt not have any gods before me. Sometimes it's worded as any strange gods before me, which I like the fact that there's a wording that is, thou shalt not have any strange gods before me. Like, if it's a normal god, that's okay. If it's a weird one, get the fuck out of here, that Quetzalcoatl bullshit. No, none of that shit.
We don't do lizard birds around here.
Yeah, that's strange. What about your just bog standard human looking one? That one's fine. No, just the strange one. Get the fuck out of here with the strange one. But yeah, it's the thou shalt not have any gods before me. Then it's the thou shalt not take the name of God or the name of the Lord thy God in vain. Keep holy the Sabbath. Honor thy father and mother. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife. And the one that is split off, because in the non-Catholic it is just thou shalt not covet. The Catholic 10 splits it off to thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor shall thou covet thy neighbor's ass, or sometimes worded as thy neighbor's goods.
Now, see, when you say ass, that can be taken multiple different ways. But I remember being like, thou shalt not covet like thy neighbor's wife or his ox.
Yep, that's another way of phrasing it. It is thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, thy neighbor's, and then the 10th would be thy neighbor's ass, thy neighbor's ox, thy neighbor's goods, and I think there's another version where it is just translated as thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house.
That kind of reminds me of a joke.
Which is?
These two army privates are digging a hole, right? And the reason why they're digging this hole is to bury one of the company's pack animals. And they're debating, whether, would this hole would it be considered a foxhole or not? Because that's what they started digging it for originally before the pack animal died.
Mm-hmm.
So they're arguing about it while they're digging. Sergeant comes by, asks them what they're doing, and they explain it to him. It's like, oh well, yeah, that'd be it's a foxhole then. He goes on his way. They keep digging, arguing back and forth, and finally, a lieutenant comes by, asks him, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" So they tell him, we're digging this hole. He says it's a foxhole. I say it's a fighting hole. We're going back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Lieutenant, he sides with the other guy. He says, "Oh, well, that's a fighting hole. Fine." Finally, chaplain comes by. They tell him, they're digging a hole. I completely fucked up the joke. Never mind.
I'm guessing it ends with, that's an asshole?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yep. Because it's the hole that you stick the ass in.
I told you guys, I'm fried. I completely fucked up that joke. I realized it like halfway through. It's like, no, that's not how it goes.
But yeah, that is the difference between the 10 Commandments. So yeah, there's 8 out of the 10 9 out of the 10 are exactly the same. Well, no, it's 8 out of the 10 are exactly the same. One of them is split into 2, and one of them's just omitted entirely.
So what was your cringe, Johnny? Because I think Sanguine and I lost the chat talking about the 10 Commandments because they're talking about Bring It On franchise.
Also, their favorite white slurs.
All right, this one's gonna take some. I'm gonna do.
I like Snow
sound check
Chimps
here.
the best. That's probably one of my favorite ones for white people.
Tell
Snow
me a
Chimps.
joke.
Why does a duck have tail feathers? To cover its butt quack.
Okay, glad you heard that. All right.
Yep.
We did. Yes.
Okay.
That's a solid dad joke there, Johnny.
All right. Now,
Too bad you had Stephen Hawking delivering it.
Yeah, it gets worse. Sing me a song.
Let's celebrate that we have the vaccine to help us bring a change to this old routine. It can help us build our immunities while taking care of our communities. Vaccines are safe and an important step towards
The
opening
fuck
up
am I
and
listening to
shaking
right now?
and going somewhere we couldn't visit for months, protecting ourselves and the world at once. Scientists worked night and day. In record time, they found a way, like superheroes in masks and gloves, helping us get back to what we love. If you want to hear that again, just ask me to sing the vaccine song.
God, no! For the love of God.
I think there's people that have been forcibly sodomized that feel more violated with that than they did when that happened to them.
Less violated?
No, they feel more violated hearing that song than they did when they got sodomized.
Oh, okay.
Nope. Bring on the sodomy. There we go.
All right, I gotta ask: Are you Android or iPhone, Johnny?
That is
what
Android.
fresh hell is that?
That is Android.
Oh.
If there was anything that was going to drive people to iPhones, I think that would be it.
I've never used an Apple product in my life, but I am considering it as long as they don't do any of that kind of bullshit.
No, I was reading my friend's Facebook page, and I'm like, that can't be true. And so I did it, and I'm just like, oh, that's going on the show tonight. Like,
I mean, like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, that you couldn't. I mean, row 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 your boat.
No,
we get stuck with that, really?
Yep.
Yeah, like I said, I think there are people that have been forcibly sodomized that feel more violated by that song than they did by their sodomization.
Stop! Don't touch me there. This is my no-no square.
Yeah, now
that song was infinitely better written.
Now the song is about the ears and not the pelvis.
So let's go back to talking about God, Sanguine, and how he obviously doesn't exist after listening to that garbage.
And if he did, he would have surely abandoned us.
Like, if there's anybody that needs a smiting, it's whoever programmed that.
Also, the person that wrote the song in the first place.
Well, as bad as it was, I'm imagining that's the same person.
I don't know. I think that's assuming that a person is that untalented while also being somewhat skillful in something else.
Left brain, right brain, man.
Well,
left brain, right brain.
I think it was just made with the voice feature in mind. I don't think it was. It's just something. It's something that someone's like, oh, I can cause mental trauma with this. I can send this over here.
The only people that would come up with that song normally are nighttime television hosts.
Well, I mean, here's another possibility. That was AI generated, and this is like the first step to Skynet. Yeah. Go ahead and ponder that for a little while.
I would rather the overtly trying to kill me robots. I can at least understand their methodology.
Have either of you kept track of Karlin Borisenko?
No.
Not as of late. Why?
Oh, somebody I follow on Twitter retweeted like a string of her tweets, like a they put like three of them together, along with like the Vince McMahon meme,
Mm-hmm.
and like a screenshot and some goofy shit, but also like the original person was responding to the serfs, and I just noticed like he got a picture of her, like a screenshot from YouTube of her doing Prager University.
Okay.
What were those potato head looking people from Doctor Who? She kind of looks like one of them.
There were a lot of potato-headed looking people from Doctor Who, especially old Who.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking of well, not necessarily old Who. Definitely before Whitaker. I'm thinking like Matt Smith era. They had that one potato-headed looking dude. Like they were only vulnerable like at the very back of their neck or whatever.
Oh, the very martial race.
Wait, that's what they were called?
No, I'm trying to remember what
okay.
race is, but now I remember the one that you're talking about.
Because I mean,
It's on Torrens. I think it's the Sun
there you
Torrens.
go. Yeah, that's the one. Because tell me that doesn't look like one of them.
One of us.
She does look rather uniquely like a thumb.
She looks like she just like slides into an office. Like you and your friends are hanging out at the office, and she kind of just slides her way in. Like, hey fellas, how's it going?
Now be honest, Sanguine. How many people in your prison's HR department look like this?
Oh, most of them.
All right, I'm gonna stop sharing that. I need to find something.
And there's another image that just made me think of. So I need to quickly pull this up so that I can share it. Because I think that this is also a viable comparison. And this should be one that will remind people of their childhood.
Oh.
The Thumbs from Spy Kids. Gloriously bad movie.
I only remember seeing. I think I watched like the original Spy Kids. I know they had like a whole franchise going, but I think I only saw like the first one, and that was a good long while ago.
Yeah, the first one was so bad it's good, but the CG just don't ever try to see if the CG held up, because no it didn't.
You know, I've been tempted to start going back because I the whole time we were up at the hospital, we only watched like one channel really, and that was a channel called Ion.
Yep.
Oh, you know about that one too, Johnny? Huh?
Yep.
Yeah, like they only play like 5 shows, like 14 hours a day, and so I've watched like the majority of episodes of like Chicago Fire, Chicago PD,
Criminal Minds, I
Bloods.
think, is on Ion now.
Cold Case.
Well, now that it's a holiday season, instead of playing Criminal Minds on Sundays, they're doing the Christmas movie stuff.
Mm.
But yeah, there for a while that was being played on Sundays. Yeah, I know their whole lineup, which is really weird. We're back home now, and I find myself drifting back to that. So apparently they're right. It only takes about 3 weeks to a month to instill new habits. Unfortunately, I've not been able to like go like a month without smoking to reset that one, but I do have like a new TV watching habit. When in doubt, just flip it over to Ion. You'll find something familiar.
Yeah.
But also I learned while watching Ion at the hospital. Johnny, have you ever heard of was it Newsy or Newsly? I think it's Newsy. Have you heard of them?
Is that the news app?
It's supposed to be like I guess like a channel that you can get like with the rabbit ear antennas.
No.
And I think it's Newsly.
Newsly, yes, I do believe that's correct. Well, that's interesting, Johnny, because apparently they have 3. This is supposed to be like a news station, right? They have 3 bureaus. Care to guess where they are? One of them's in Tulsa. One of them's in Nashville, Tennessee. Guess where the other one is?
If I were to hazard a guess, I'd say Bozeman.
Missoula.
Ah, one of the two. I know it was one of the two. It's usually either one of those 2 college towns.
Yeah. I remember seeing that commercial. I was like, why the fuck do you have a bureau in Missoula and Tulsa?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I didn't even bother thinking about Nashville. Who the fuck cares? But I was like, why? Of all the places to have a news bureau, did you just throw darts at a map? But yeah, there's so many interesting commercials. I'd forgot what it was like to watch TV with commercials for the longest time.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I don't know, for the past 4 or 5 years, I haven't really watched TV.
Mm-hmm.
I'd catch something on a streaming service if it caught my interest. But, I mean, for the most part, I've been right here on YouTube watching stuff. So, sitting there...
given our pre-stream conversation, it's not so much just YouTube that you've been watching stuff. It's mainly other sites that you watch most of your content on.
Well, I mean, that was how I learned how to use the computer in the first place. I didn't say that was the majority of my viewing habits.
Fair enough.
For those in the know, it's the Christian Science Monitor.
Yeah, let's go with that. But
.edu.
But no, yeah. .gov. But so sitting there watching these commercials, like I was reminded of how many drug commercials there are on TV, and how ridiculous it is that it's us in New Zealand, guys. We're the only 2 countries on the planet that have drug commercials. And some of these drugs are just getting out of pocket at this point. Like there was one. Oh, sorry.
My favorite ones are always the ones that the number of symptoms that they treat is absolutely dwarfed by the number of
adverse effects. Yeah. Well, no, they don't call them. I don't think they call them side effects anymore. They call them adverse effects.
Well, there's several different categorizations for things that can be caused by medicine.
Mm-hmm.
So you have side effects, which are fairly common, typically somewhat low level. Then you have untoward effects, which are less common and typically much more severe. So,
well, there were 2 of them that really stood out to me. Like there's this one commercial where this lady's got these sunglasses on, right? We're talking like the old people like Don Knotts wraparound sunglasses.
Mm-hmm. Though I tripped and fell into the doorknob sunglasses.
Yeah, I just got back from having like laser eye surgery, and I can't let any light get in, for however long.
Mm-hmm.
So she's wearing those, and the whole commercial is about her bulging eyes, right? And every few seconds, like the scene changes, scenery, background, She pulls off those glasses. She's got another set of glasses on underneath, so you can't see her eyes. And this is like a 30-second, minute-long commercial, right? So she's flipping through like multiple pairs of sunglasses. You never see this bitch's eyes until she goes and takes off this last pair of sunglasses, and she's got her normal eyes from taking this pill. I was like, no, I want to see a before and after.
Yeah, I want to know what the
How
fuck you mean by
bug-eyed
your
was this
creepy
bitch?
bulging eyes.
If you're trying to sell me a pill for bulging, how big of an issue is bulging eyes that we need a pill for this shit? First of all, they gave no numbers of like how many Americans are affected by this condition, you know, and we don't even get to see like a before and after shot. Really, I mean, like, you know,
That's
somebody
bullshit.
hawking some fly-by-night diet program is going to give you a before and after photo.
Normally of two different people, but yes.
Yeah, well, normally it's like in reverse. Like you had some dude who's actually kind of fit that they say, "Hey, man, just load up on carbs for like 2 months, take a picture, and then, But yeah, so like I saw that, I was like, I'm calling shenanigans on this. First of all, in my entire life, I've only seen like 3 bug-eyed people that's like, you know what, you might need a pill for that. And like 2 of them were on Ripley's Believe It or Not, and one was that Beetlejuice guy from fucking Howard Stern. Like, those are the only 3 people I've ever seen. Is like, you know what? You might want to get them eyes checked. So in nearly 33 years of walking this planet, I've only seen 3 of these motherfuckers. Why do we have a pill? And the second one was a pill for tardive dyskinesia. Now, Sanguine, you want to go ahead and explain to the people in chat what tardive dyskinesia is? Because I'm gonna fuck it up.
I would have to double check. I can break down what the individual components would mean.
Well, I'll give an overview of the commercial because like they got this dude. He's walking through like a warehouse and he's carrying a box. And at least according to the commercial, this guy has problems like controlling like his extremities because of tardive dyskinesia.
Tardive dyskinesia is the cause of repetitive involuntary movements such as grimacing and eye blinking, stopping, which is normally caused by stopping drugs too quickly.
So the DTs, pretty much.
Yeah, it's associated with both the DTs as well as certain drugs can cause tardive dyskinesia.
Yeah.
Like psych drugs can cause tardive dyskinesia.
So we're going to give you a pill for the effects of this other pill that we gave you.
Yep.
However long, far down the road back. But yeah, so like it was interesting watching this one because like at first I'm something like, okay, I've heard of tardive dyskinesia before. I've watched House. I've seen ER. I've heard of this shit. Okay, this one sounds legit. So I started paying a little bit more attention. And then they get to the side effects at the end of the commercial, which I love how they always put that shit right at the end and they start doing that auctioneer voice.
Yep.
The one that stood exactly. The one that stood out to me though, they didn't say it quite fast enough. I caught this one. Was one of the side effects for this drug that they want you to take for tardive dyskinesia is Parkinson's-like symptoms.
So tardive dyskinesia.
I was like, so how does that work? Like, because this dude had problems with like his hands and feet. So like, are his arms and legs cool now, and his torso shakes like a paint can? What's going on? How does that work?
That's like my favorite example of what the fuck is wrong with this medicine, which are the medicines that are meant to treat diarrhea, and in their symptoms, or not in their symptoms, in their side effects, anal seepage. And I'm going, wait,
that's a nice way of saying diarrhea.
So, in order to fix the diarrhea, you're just going to make it constantly leak like a busted sink? Is that what you're saying? Is that...
Yeah, I mean, yeah, just a drip of ass juice instead of like the whole dam bursting at once.
Rather than you shitting yourself overtly, you're just going to have a constant couple drops here, couple drops there. That's always one of the ones that every time I hear, that. It just makes me go, what the fuck? Because that isn't like one of the ones that people point and laugh at and make fun of is the depression meds that have the side effect of
Suicidal thoughts.
likelihood of suicidal ideation. That one has more of an explanation for why that's the case. Because do you guys know why there's an association of antidepressants and suicide?
I mean, those people were already bummed to begin with.
So, with depression, one of the major symptoms is a profound lethargy. So, just lack of drive and motivation while feeling depressed. Which means
shit,
that if
I've got depression and I'm going to hell. Thanks a lot, Sanguine.
If someone is sufficiently depressed, they can be too depressed to kill themselves.
Oh shit, I'm safe. Okay.
Because they can be so depressed that they lack the energy to kill themselves. So if they're put on a depression med,
Johnny, my laziness pays off again.
And it does just enough
Amen.
for them, it can get rid of the complete lack of energy, but not quite enough to get rid of the overall depressive mood.
So I should never take antidepressants in case I actually do have, like, motivation. Gotcha.
You need to make sure that you take the right one, and you take strong enough ones, which is why it is always a thing of, yeah, if you notice any of these symptoms, talk to your doctor immediately. Just fucking go. Because normally the response is they realize, oh, this one's either not a high enough dose, let's increase your dose, see if we can get that mood elevated as well, or, oh, this one isn't strong enough, let's swap you to this one, which is 20% stronger.
Well, I remember Chantix, and I took that one for a little while. Because there was a time when I was like, you know what, I really should quit smoking. I have that thought cross my mind ever so often. And here lately it's just been like, you know what, just go ahead and push that one to the side. Because after my experience with Chantix, I'll just deal with it. But
did you end up with a particularly nasty side effect or something?
Thankfully, no. Like, the side effects I ended up having with the Chantix were I had really funky dreams.
Okay.
You know?
Some people would be willing to pay more for that experience.
Well, I mean, it just it didn't feel like restful sleep, you know. So like I'm having these weird ass dreams, and I'm waking up as tired, if not more so, than I was when I went to sleep. And the other one was everything tasted like metal. It didn't matter if I was drinking something, eating food. It all had a metallic taste to it. And that was the thing that I was like, you know what? I can put up with the being tired. I can put up with the weird ass dreams. I like my food. Don't fuck with my food. So I went ahead and I quit that. I was like, you know what? I'll just take the cancer. And then it comes out, years later, it's like, hey, Chantix, we got you. You want the cancer? We'll give you the cancer too.
Now with cancer.
So I did like one deal with that, and I was like, no, I'll just keep smoking. Fuck it.
The really ridiculous dreams just reminded me of a story that my mom told me, because my mom has the exact opposite reaction to meds that I do. I am a goddamn just tolerance machine, effectively. It is difficult to explain how high of a tolerance to most things I have. It's not just alcohol. I've told people how much it takes for me to actually get drunk. But it's actual meds as well. And I generate tolerances like a motherfucker. My mom is the canary in a coal mine. When it comes to meds, she'll get hit by them and just hit hard. So at one point, she was given a med that has one of the weirdest sounding side effects. Because you know how a lot of meds have hallucinations as their side effects, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or nightmares as a side effect. This med had hellish hallucinations.
I'm sorry, they said hellish in the actual description?
Hellish hallucinations. As in, you would hallucinate demons and shit.
Okay, without getting like too deep into it, what exactly was this medication for?
I think it was a pain med. Because she was talking about, she was given it when she was about to go in for surgery.
Oh yeah, that's because that's what I want right before they wheel me into the OR is just see all my nurses turn into demons.
Yep. So she's given the med, and everything's fine for a few moments, and she's just talking to the doctors and the nurses. Then she looks at the foot of the bed. There's a fucking demon standing there. She looks over to the nurse and goes, "So, you remember how you told me there was a side effect for this, right? Yeah? I see a demon." So she was swapped to a different med.
Yeah.
But yeah. Hellish hallucinations. One of the most specific side effects that I've heard of for damn near anything.
See, when I was younger, I had tolerance to meds. I don't know if they were anything like yours, but I remember I had to get a tooth pulled when I was a kid,
Mm-hmm.
and the dentist at the Indian clinic he tried to just give me like a local anesthetic,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like he gives me that shot in the gums, gives it a few minutes to start taking effect, and then he goes to start pulling on that tooth, and it's like yeah I no like you're gonna have to do better than that, doc. He's like you shouldn't be feeling. I was like I feel everything. I'm like every scrape, every pull, just put me out, all right? My mom's sitting right there. I know you won't do any funny business while I'm out of it. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
just put me out. It's gonna be easy for you to pull that tooth if I'm not conscious.
So one of the best examples, other than the fact that I'm immune to surgical grade nerve block and how high of a morphine dose they have to give me when they put me in for surgery, is from when I was 7 years old. I had to get some oral surgery done because my bottom gum was being eroded away somehow. So they needed to take some skin from the roof of my mouth and stitch it onto the bottom of my gum. Straightforward procedure. They asked me if I wanted to be put out or if I just wanted to be anesthetized locally, and I wanted to be passed out because fuck that. I'm 7 years old. I don't want to see someone digging in my mouth. So they go, okay, we'll be giving you this one med. The med dosage should have put me under at 2 cc's for the size that I was at the time. I was a tiny kid. It put out grown men normally at around 5 cc's. 7 cc's in, and I'm high, but not asleep.
It reminds me of that story about Andre the Giant when they were gonna go do surgery for him. They're trying to figure out what doses of drugs to put him out with.
Mm-hmm.
And so I asked Vince McMahon, he's like, well, it takes like a quart of vodka to get him buzzed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for that procedure, as they were doing the procedure, like I said, I was high as shit for it. So, what apparently happened was, while I was in the chair, Doc was working on my mouth. They had a heart rate monitor on me, of course, because they had anesthetized me. And they were monitoring that. If my heart rate went too high, it would start to screech. If it went too low, it would start to screech. So I'm sitting there in the chair, Doc working on my mouth, and I realized that if I just start fluttering my fist, opening and closing it really quick, I could get the thing to just make this amusing sound. So they're working on my mouth, and I flutter my fist. The alarm goes off. They start freaking out, checking to see if I'm okay. They then notice that I'm just fluttering my fist. They try to explain to me to stop. I'm high and I'm 7. Explaining does not work to a high 7-year-old, apparently. So
Yeah,
what
well-
they had to do was I had to get one of the nurses to hold open my hand. So I sat there for a few moments as they went back to work. And then I realized if I flutter my other hand, I could get it to do the same thing. So it starts shrieking. They start freaking out again. The nurse is still holding my hand open, so they know it's not that. And then they notice that I'm fluttering my other hand. And effectively, you little shit. Again, tried to explain. Again, high 7-year-old. I don't fucking care. Another nurse is called to hold open my hand. So I have one nurse holding open one hand. I have another nurse holding open my other hand. I'm 7 years old. It's already requiring 2 additional nurses in order to do a procedure on me. So they continue on with the procedure. If I flutter my leg, alarm goes off, freak out, realize I'm fluttering. Son of a bitch! I have a nurse come in, hold down my leg. And about the time that they were about to get back to work, high mind is working a little bit faster. Right hand worked, and then left hand worked, and then right leg worked. Left leg! They get another nurse to come in and hold down my left leg. So I have 4 nurses just holding my hands open and holding my legs down. Because I was fucking with the doctor while I was high and 7. Off a med that should have knocked me out at 2 cc's, and I had 7 cc's in my body.
Oh, having the nurses and stuff holding you down, that reminds me of going to get my immunizations for going to school.
Mm-hmm.
For the longest time, I was terrified of needles.
Same here.
Still don't like them, but I mean, I can suck up and deal if I got to get a shot or have blood drawn or anything like that, right?
Mm-hmm. I just need a warning.
Well, I just need to, like, not watch, like if they're doing the left arm, I just look off to my right.
Yep.
And just like, hey, just give me a heads up when you're going in. I'll look over here. I'll try and keep my mind occupied. Whatever. Yeah, they didn't. I didn't have that kind of composure as like a 4-year-old. And they didn't quite explain to me exactly what all was going on, So I just see this big-ass needle coming at me. It took, I think, 5 nurses plus my mom to hold me down while they gave me my immunizations.
Mm-hmm.
I
was going to say,
when I was, I think it was in the 5th grade when I slipped and cracked my knee on the corner of a slab of cement and ripped it open. I had to get 6 stitches. And I mean, it hurt enough as it was already. And then they showed me the needle. And so I pretty much went in like no, don't poke me mode.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom held me down. Like there was only the nurse, the person who was giving me the shot, and my mom. And my mom pretty much took her coat, wrapped it around my arms and like my arms and up, from my stomach and up. She wrapped it, held me down, and just like laid on top of me, like, and so yeah, she's pretty much smothering me with her coat, while like giving me the old straitjacket technique. And then they had one guy holding down one leg, and then another one holding down the other leg, while the person who was numbing my leg got to work. And I was screaming so loud that I set off all the other children who were afraid to actually be there. It was a very small town.
Yeah, when I was in 11th grade, I was playing football at the time and ended up having some problems with my left shoulder. Went to the doc. Took some time for the doc to figure out. I was going to military docs at the time. And turned out that it was tendonitis, bursitis, and impingement syndrome all at the same time, all in my left shoulder.
Ouch.
I'm sorry to interrupt you here. James, I commend you for not calling me Prospero. I think you're probably one of the first ones who was like, oh, hey, Prospero, how's it going?
Nice.
So, props to you.
But yeah, so tendonitis, bursitis, impingement syndrome, all in the same shoulder. And are you guys familiar with how they treat tendonitis and bursitis?
No, I can't say that I am.
Corticosteroid.
So, steroid shot?
Yep. Have you ever received a steroid shot?
Thankfully, no.
It requires a thick fucking needle, and it is the most viscous fucking thing getting injected into you. It feels like someone's trying to inject your arm with honey. So it feels really goddamn weird. Went to the doc, seeing the doc. I thought that there was a chance that it would be something that I need a shot with, so I told the doc, if you have to give me a shot, let me know. I need a moment in order to compose myself, and then I'm good to go. Doc said okay. And my mom was there, heard me say that to the doc, heard me explain that, yes, I am very scared of needles. So doc goes through the treatment, or goes through the whole process in order to diagnose my shoulder, comes to the conclusion that, yep, it is exactly the tendonitis and bursitis. And then he says, I'll be right back in. He gets up, walks out of the room, comes back in with a needle, doesn't say anything to me, takes the tip off the needle, swabs my arm, and stabs it in one fluid motion. My hand immediately kind of jerks, and then I stop myself because I realize there's a big-ass needle in my left arm. Stop. You do not want to break the needle in your left arm. wait.
Then they'll have to dig it out.
Yep. But that was just very narrowly. That controlled side of my brain grabbed the animal side of my brain and went, not yet.
Patience, young Padawan.
Yep. And it just held enough sway to get my arm to stop. And I couldn't pull my arm back because, no, the arm needs to go forward. Why would I pull it back? So I feel it get injected into my arm. Then, after what feels like a fucking eternity, and I can feel it oozing into the shoulder and kind of spreading out into the shoulder, weirdest goddamn feeling. The needle comes out of my arm. The moment that the needle comes out of my arm, the doctor rattles the door. Because once the needle was out of my arm, that controlled side of me going, not yet, went, fucking go for it, man.
Steady.
So my left arm just launched out, caught this Mildock in the chest, and launched him across the room, hitting the door. He slumped down, he got back up, pissed and ready for a fight. I got up, pissed and ready for a fight. My mom, who watched this entire thing, laughing her ass off. And just looks over at the doc, stifles her laugh for a couple moments, and goes, he told you he was scared of needles. Look at the fucking size of the boy. And also, I should point out, that was the arm that you just treated that he threw you with. The doctor, still red in the face, still looking pissed, looks at me, looks at my arm, leaves the fucking room.
The fact that your mom laughed, just that makes me happy.
Yeah. Because she knew I was afraid of needles. I told him I was afraid of needles. I told him that they freaked me the fuck out. He decided to ignore that. And then I threw him with the arm that was fucked up at the time, which, like I said, she pointed that out as a, do you really want to find out what the working arm does?
Oh, man. Well,
Yeah.
I was going to mention, I don't know if you guys watched the show, but they canceled the live-action Cowboy Bebop after the first season.
Thank God it was an abomination from everything I heard.
I did not watch it. I mean, if they had just kept their mouths shut, I may have given it a shot because John Cho.
I made it through the first episode.
Yeah, I
The problem is, even if John Cho played the main character, right?
yeah.
Yeah. He's 40-something, the actor?
Yeah, late 30s, early 40s at this point.
Give or take.
So, do you remember how old the character's supposed to be?
I have no clue. I'm not into the animes all that much.
Did not follow. I didn't pay that close attention.
He's supposed to be like 20. Very early 20s.
Yeah, okay. That's
It's a key aspect to his character because it's supposed to be that Jet Black, who they made black for some reason, was kind of...
It's kind of in the name, Sanguine.
Jet Black wasn't black, though.
No, I'm saying the reason why they did it's kind of in the name.
True. But yeah, they made Jet Black black, and Jet Black's character, or the actor that played Jet Black, was younger than the main. When the part of their whole relationship was Jet Black almost functioned as a surrogate father to the other two, or other three, rather. So having him be younger didn't really work with that dynamic. And it turned what could be somewhat cool lines from a young guy that's just out there turned into, dude, you're 40.
Correction. He's 50.
No
50.
shit.
Okay.
John chose that old, really?
Yeah, 1972.
Wow.
So yeah, then they made a 20-something, a 50-something that...
See, I could have bought that he was younger, not like young, but I knew he was old, but
You could buy that he was in his like 30s or 40s, perhaps.
Yeah. I would buy
20s.
30.
Yeah. You wouldn't buy that he's barely in his 20s.
Yeah.
No.
Which is what the character's supposed to be.
You know, Cannibalistic Wizard brings up a good point. You know, we never would have given live action Bebop, you know, because it's live action, and almost no live action movie's been good. I think that should be like a hard and fast rule for the most part. Like, video game movies, don't go see them. Live action anime, don't bother. Because I don't have, like I said, I'm not very deep into the anime, but the little bit of stuff that I did watch that they turned into live action, just complete dog shit.
Yeah. The thing is that you could do them rather well.
I will stand
I don't know, man. Some of them, the ones that I grew up on Dragon Ball when I was a kid, and they tried to make that Dragon Ball movie. That was horrible.
Oh yeah, that's because, like I said, they can do some of them rather well. They don't do any of them well.
That was presented by Planned Parenthood.
The other one was Death Note. You know, Netflix did that live adaptation of it.
Yep.
What's worse than complete dog shit? Because whatever that would be, that's what I think that one was.
See, I wouldn't say
right,
that
Frosted.
was...
Unless it's the original Mario Brothers movie, that is the exception to the rule.
That is two dogs, one water dish.
I wouldn't say that it's worse than dog shit, because worse than dog shit, the way that I imagine worse than dog shit is it is the sequel trilogy. It is so bad that it somewhat ruins the originals.
And I take off points for the Doom movie. I didn't play Doom, so I'm not comparing it to the video game. But I do take off points for them having Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in it.
Oh, yeah, like
that motherfucker's in everything, and come on.
Like I said, you can make really good video game movies. You have to get people who actually like the license that you're trying to make a movie for and respect it in order to do so. But I can imagine ways that you could make good video game, anime, and comic book in the same genre movies. They've done comic book movies.
I will stand by this. Rurouni Kenshin is the greatest of the anime-based movies.
Yep.
I'll take your word for it. But
there's still stuff in there that they get. I'm not going to say they get it wrong, but I mean it's stuff they kind of just push to the side, and it's fine because it's not really all that important.
All right, I didn't see the Assassin's Creed movie, Frosted, so I did play like the original couple games, so I can't really comment on it. And Terry does bring up a good point. I'll give the original Mortal Kombat a pass as well.
I think the thing that people need to know when they're thinking about doing a video game, anime, or anything like that movie is don't try to do a shot for shot do an adaptation. Keep it as loyal to the material as you can. But realize different media need different things. You can't do the really close-up shots that you get in anime. Because if you do that really close-up shot of a character's face in anime, you can get it where it is funny. You can get it where it's intimidating. You can get it where it's cute. If you do that same thing with actual actors and actresses, it just becomes awkward as fuck. When you try to get the character to be that ridiculously overly energetic, it becomes awkward. There are things that you could do, like Cowboy Bebop, fucking known for how just liquid smooth all the fight scenes were. The Netflix adaptation, not so much.
Some of them weren't bad, but there was a lot that were lacking.
Well, we just found out that the main actor was 50 years old, man.
Yeah. Maybe don't have your high action series star be afraid that he's going to break his hip.
Yes, yeah, that's why I give it a pass, Frosted. The original Mortal Kombat was cheesy 90s goodness.
Mm-hmm. And it's not something that is just because the actor was old, since if you go back and you watch some of the old school Christopher Lee movies when he was at a comparable age, do you know that Christopher Lee did a good chunk of his action shots?
Yeah, he paid the price for it, too.
Yeah, he almost got killed by a shit ton of actors.
Well, like, didn't he get sliced up by Errol Flynn?
Mm-hmm. Because Errol Flynn was half drunk at the time.
Again, I only know this because of Mad Lads. I'm not going to act like I'm some big Christopher Lee know-it-all. I read the Cliff Notes.
Oh, yeah. Christopher Lee, though, was actually trained in fencing.
That dude, he was trained in a lot of shit.
Yeah. And yes, Christopher Lee, the star of the Castle of Fu Manchu, also of like 4 of the Hammer Dracula films, and
a narrator for the Marquis de Sade porno.
Which he didn't know was a format.
No, but
which is hilarious.
I imagine he started like really like questioning the roles he was given after that. It's like, now there's not gonna be any like wah wah pedals involved, is there?
Mm-hmm. But yeah, he got sliced up by a shit ton of different actors. But when he was doing sword fighting, to include a good chunk of what he was doing in the prequel trilogy, when it came to Count Dooku in the fight scenes, he was actually doing. And he had the right tempo. It looked smooth when he did it because he knew what he was doing. Okay, I'm going to reference something that I doubt either of you have read, but on the off chance, have either of you ever read the Book of Five Rings?
Nope.
It's been on my to-do list, but I've not been reading that much here lately.
So one of the parts of the Book of Five Rings is Musashi talking about the tempo and how when someone's inexperienced, they'll have a fast tempo or a slow tempo. Both of these are bad because if you're a master, you shouldn't look like you're moving quickly. You shouldn't look like you're moving slowly. You should look like you're moving at the right time. And That's what Christopher Lee in the fencing scenes had. He had that fluidity where it didn't look like, oh man, he's really busting his ass to get his arm to be there at that time. It was tense because it looked like he was fighting, but it was also smooth, ridiculously smooth looking. And that's something that people need to actually have in their action scenes if you want it to look good. And there are some movies that do a fantastic job of that. You guys have seen the Ip Man movies, right?
Negative.
1 and 2.
1 and 2 are enough to get the reference. The Ip Man movies, does it at any point look like Ip Man is really desperately trying to keep up or desperately trying to be as fast as he is? Or does it look like that's just him and that's just his tempo?
Oh, wait, are you talking about that IP Man movie that I saw scrolling through Netflix?
Yep, Ip Man.
I still haven't watched it, but I know what you're talking about.
And there's like 9 of them.
Oh, really? Wow.
No, there's like, I think 4 or 5.
All right, can I time out Cannibalistic for what he just said?
That he likes Jar Jar?
I mean, if ever there was an offense that was worthy.
The fan theories about Jar Jar makes Jar Jar better than the prequel trilogies made Jar Jar.
Okay, like which ones?
Jar Jar was a secret Sith.
Yeah,
Okay.
You never heard
Have you
Sith
heard
Jar
that
Jar?
fan theory? So
I have to admit, like, I've blocked out a lot of the Star Wars prequel stuff from my memory after seeing Episode 1.
So the way that the fan theory goes, that Jar Jar was a secret Sith, or at least a Sith-aligned covert Force user, is a lot of the shit that Jar Jar did in the first and second movie seemed to almost require him to have some sort of Force ability. There's one part where Obi-Wan and Anakin jump out of this window and Jar Jar follows immediately behind them in shot 1. Shot 2, you see Anakin land, you see Obi-Wan land, you see a droid's head track where Jar Jar should be, and then kind of loop up and off to the side as his gun sweeps the same way, like he's tracking something. Which, in order for Jar Jar to have moved like that, it would have had to have been like a Force jump.
Ah, okay.
Then the fact that he was always a bumbling idiot, but everything worked out for him, they explained that away as he was acting like a bumbling idiot, but actually doing things purposefully. Which,
see, I've actually met bumbling idiots where that actually works out for him, and God loves an idiot.
true, but he did it to an obscene degree. So the theory was that he actually knew what he was doing, and he was putting on the act of the idiot. This was all proven to be bullshit by the third one, but in the first two, there were some really quality Jar Jar's evil theories. Where he was either a Sith or dark side aligned Force user that wasn't quite a Sith, or some sort of mercenary that was Force sensitive. I recommend looking up the Jar Jar Star Wars fan theories, because they are a trip, and as you read through them, they are one of those things that you kind of start going, son of a bitch, it could have been. And you realize that it was much better if it had turned out that way than the way that it did.
Yeah. But we're reaching 2 hours.
Yeah, I'm starting to fade a little bit myself.
So we are.
Go with final parting thoughts. Cal?
Well, I mean, we were talking about antidepressants and stuff earlier, so I'll leave you with a Bill Maher quote. Suicide is, man's way of telling God, "You can't fire me. I quit."
Nice.
Sanguine?
I'll leave off with my cited. If you're passionate about something, make sure that you devour it. Don't let it devour you.
All right, and I will go with my argument for people saying that they don't want, in reference to Cowboy Bebop, they don't want to see the same story twice. There are people who have bought every copy of Skyrim since its release, so the fuck they don't.
Yep.
I'm like, if you could do that like that, by all means. But yeah, we got what they got, and they shit the bed.
To the people that say no one wants to see the same thing twice, the same story twice, please explain to me why there's so many iterations of Shakespeare.
Or reboots.
One of my favorite TV shows was just Hamlet on Harleys.
Mm-hmm.
But on that note, the zoo's closed. Have a good night, everyone.
Have a good night, all.
Bye, everybody.